It took 19 months from the bust in March of 1977 in Toronto to the trial in October of 78. I'm facing 3 charges: trafficking, possession, and importing. I'm going to be doing some hard time. I'd better get ready. Which is one of the reasons I finally cleaned up. I didn't want to cold turkey in jail. Also, attached to the junk as I was putting myself slowly into a position where it would be impossible to move around the world and work. There was a tour coming up in 1 month in June of 1978 for Some Girls. I knew I'd had to get clean for it. Jane Rose, who is now my manager, had been asking me, when are you going to get clean? And I'd say, tomorrow. I had done it the year before, screwed up and got hooked again. And this was the last time. I didn't want to hear about another dope deal. Been there. You get about 10 years and you stop. You take your medal and retire. And Jane stuck with me, bless her heart. The old Jugs, which is her nickname, came through. It must have been horrendous for her. Far worse for me. But for her to witness what goes on when you're climbing the walls, going bananas, how could she plow through that? This is Jane's recollection of when I gave up heroin. Quote, I had basically become the courier. I would bring money or drugs from New York to Westchester County for Keith. He still wouldn't clean up, and his habit was bad now. And he would not admit it, and I couldn't stand the calls to Westchester anymore. I went up there, and Antonio and Anna Marie were there, friends of Anita's who lived in Keith's apartment, in Rue Saint-Honoré in Paris. Antonio later became Antonia. So they were there in the house, and Keith was waiting for money and drugs. Anita was there too. I went up to the house, and they said, where's the money? And I said, I don't have the money. I said, it's in New York. They flipped out, and Anita got in the car. She was furious. And I said, Keith, today is tomorrow. Because he was always saying, tomorrow I'll clean up. And this was right before the tour in May. He and Anita had a huge fight later that day. Keith went upstairs. He was furious. Anna Marie and Antonio looked at this Jewish chick from New York and said, this girl is going to be dead. How could she come out here without the money? Then there was silence. And I went upstairs to the bedroom, the 4-poster bed, and I said hello. And he had kicked off his shoes and said, okay, I'm going to do it. I've got my machine. I'm going to kick. And I said, want to go to Woodstock? That's where the rehearsals are going to be. Get away. Do it. I'll go with you. After 3 hours, he said, okay. So we were getting ready to go before Anita came back because I just knew it had to be that way. And she came back before we left. There was a big row and somebody went flying down the stairs. In the end, Keith sat in the car and we went to Woodstock. Anita had her drugs or her money. And Keith went to Woodstock and he went cold turkey with his machine. Mick and Jerry Hall came up for 2 days to be there with me, and I stayed with him 24 hours. I stayed in the room, I was there. I don't know for how many days after that, or if I even talked to anybody. I had a conviction that he was going to get better. I just believed in him.